Hi, my name's Jane from ARKObots. Today we're going to be learning how to make our own RC ant-weight combat robot using soldering. Let's get into it. Firstly, we're going to open our box. Inside of the box, we should see our transmitter, our electronics bag, and our battery. Firstly, we're going to grab out our battery and our electronics bag. In the ARKObots kit, you should have your 2 motors, wheels, printed circuit board, switch, 5-volt regulator, LED, 2 pin headers, resistor, 4-channel receiver, battery plug, battery, and finally your charging cable. Plug the micro USB end into your battery. Grab a power pack or plug it into a wall device. After this, you'll see a small red light which will indicate that it's charging. Once this light turns off, it is fully charged. Now we're grabbing out the tools we're going to need. A ruler, which has centimeters and millimeters, side cutters, wire strippers, a Sharpie, importantly some safety glasses, solder, and finally our soldering iron. So before plugging in your soldering iron, we want to make sure our safety glasses are on. Once they're on, plug it in, turn it to 350 degrees Celsius, turn it on. After this, your soldering iron will get hot. Make sure to not touch it with your hands as you will burn yourself. So our first soldering step is to grab our printed circuit board and our resistor. So firstly we're going to bend the resistor. So you hold it with 2 fingers on the main body and then using your finger bend it to a 90-degree angle. Then you turn it and do it on the other side. Once they are even, like so, grab your PCB, place 1 point in one in the other. It doesn't matter if it's this way or you turn it around and do it the other way. Push it all the way in so that it's flat. Once you've done that, turn it over and then bend these leads to a 45-degree angle for soldering. A tip is to grab some blue tack, place it down on the table, then place your PCB on there so that it holds it. Then we're going to grab our soldering iron and our solder, go towards, place it onto the pad, heat it up for a few seconds, then apply some solder so that it flows. Pull away, let it cool, don't blow on it, and then do the same for the other joint. Once you've visually checked both of the joints to make sure that they're both soldered, grab your side cutters, take it about 2 to 3 mils off the PCB so that there's a little bit left. Point it towards the table and cut. Repeat for the other leg. Next we're going to solder our LED. So now we're going to solder our LED. Now this time it matters about the orientation, as one leg is positive and the other one is negative. To notice this on the LED, your long leg is your positive leg and your short leg is your negative. Another way to see this is on one of the edges of your LED, it's flat. So now we're going to put our long leg into our positive, which has been marked, and our short leg into the negative. Push it in, holding a finger down on it so that it stays flat, turn it around and bend it to a 45-degree angle. Once again, using blue tack, make sure that it doesn't move anywhere during your soldering. Now place it down, grab your soldering iron and your solder, bring it towards the pad, hold it on the pad just like your resistor, solder. Do it for both joints. Once they're done, take it off and we're going to cut off the extra lead. the same way that we did it for the resistor. So now we're going to be soldering our switch. Now, like the resistor, it doesn't matter the orientation of the switch. So we're going to turn it over, place it in, switch it over, grab our blue tack, place it down, turn it around, making sure that it's flat once again, grabbing our soldering iron and our solder. Now we're going to have to do all 5 joints. Once all 5 joints are done, there's no snipping involved. We just go on to the next component. So now we're going to be soldering our pin headers. To do this, we grab our PCB, grab our pin headers. Now we only grab 1 for now. Once we've done this, we grab our blue tack, push it in so that it connects to both the header and the PCB, turn it over, double check that it's all flat, because the main thing we want to do is make sure that it's flat. Then we grab our soldering iron and our solder, and then only solder 1 pin. So we're going to solder the outermost pin. Once we do this, it's held in place. We take it off, double check that it's straight. See, this one's all straight. Then we do the other pin. So we grab it, place it in, grab your blue tack again, do it from this side now. Make sure that it stays straight. Place it down. Visually check that it's straight. Grab it. Soldering iron, solder. Solder the outermost pin again. Double check that it's all straight. This one is all straight, it's all good. Then we can go place blue tack on, and then we can solder the rest of them. There we go. All pins are now soldered. So now grab your ruler and your 2 motor packs. After unpacking them, you should find 2 motor cables and 2 motors. Place your motors aside for later. Then untangle your wires. And place your white connector over on this edge and then stretch it across. Now, holding it 8 centimeters, grab your Sharpie, line it up across and mark. Repeat for the other connector. So after double checking your measurements and making sure that it's at 8 centimeters, grab your side cutters, place it straight across the line and cut. Now we're going to keep this white connector side and we can get rid of the other side. Repeat for both of your cables. So now we're going to strip the cable. So place the end that we just cut into the jaws and putting it 3 millimeters past the lip of the jaw. After closing it down, close them together, and then you should have a stripped end. Repeat for the other. So now we're going to split the ends of the cable so that the exposed metal doesn't short against each other and so that it connects to the pad. Repeat for the other. So now we're going to tin the ends of the exposed metal. This will make it so that when we solder it to the PCB, we don't need to hold our solder because both of the joints will be already have solder on them. So now we're going to tin these pads. So 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. These are the pad for our motor cables. So now we're going to be soldering our motor cables to our motor pads. To do this, we place our cable with the green lead being on our square pad. We grab our soldering iron and we start to reflow all the points. Now you don't need to rush for this step. Then you grab your other one, place it down. You may need to bend the cable a bit because they're not being straight onto the pads. And then reflow the rest. So now grab your ruler and grab your battery connector. So this is the same as the motor connector, where the connector is on the end. Spread the cable across and measure once again at 8 centimeters or 80 millimeters. Once you've marked it and double check that it's at 80 millimeters or 8 centimeters, come with your cutters, make sure that they're both as straight against each other, and cut. Place the exposed ends of your cable into the strippers, hold it down, clamp. Exposed wire length should be between 2 to 3 millimeters. When I strip the cables, I strip them too far. So to fix this, you grab your side cutters, go across and cut. So now place your battery connector onto the blue tack, and then grab your soldering iron and solder and tin the exposed wires. So now we're going to tin the pads for the battery connector. To do this, we have two pads. We have ground and VCC. So we're going to apply a little bit of solder to each of these pads. So now we're going to be soldering our battery connector. Now there's two labels there. There's ground and VCC. So ground is your negative wire or your black wire, and VCC is your positive wire or your red wire. So now we'll solder it. Now it's very important for this cable that you double check, triple check that they're not shorted against each other, because that's your main power cable. So now we're going to solder our 5-volt regulator into these 3 pins. To do this, we put our metal back facing away from the PCB and slide it in. Once it's in, we'll turn it over, use a bit of blue tack to hold it steady. You can push it into the blue tack, make sure that it's straight. Grab your soldering iron and your solder, and then solder all 3 connections. There we go. So after soldering your 5-volt regulator, just like your LED and resistor, you'll have these long pins that we don't need anymore. So now we're going to come with our side cutters, place it across, aim towards the table and cut. There you go. So after checking that your LED works and you're happy with all of your soldering joints, come back for part 2 where we learn how to program it.